Hello, friends. Tattooed Biker here with you again, and tonight I've got 4 true Dogman encounter stories from real people who all saw something terrifying that they just can't wrap their heads around. So grab your gear, we're wasting moonlight, and let's ride. Number 1. Hi, Tattooed Biker. Thank you for reading my email. I'm reaching out to you to share my story and maybe get some opinions. It has to do with an experience that I had. I was driving west on Morgan Run, near Lubbock Lane in Mongolia County, West Virginia. This is close to Cheat Lake. It happened on June 8th, 2016, around 7:30 p.m., and I was on my way back to my friend's house. After I drove past Lubbock Lane, I noticed a tall figure move out and then back into the trees. I wasn't driving very fast, so I got a pretty good look at it, though it's still hard for me to believe what it was that I saw. It turned back and looked at me, and I swear it was a wolf standing on 2 legs. The head was huge with dark, long hair. The body was almost like that of a powerful man, but it still had the characteristics of a wolf. I didn't get a good look at the legs, but they were definitely shaped like a wolf. Extremely muscular arms with human-like hands and very long fingers or claws. When it looked at me, the eyes seemed to twinkle or almost shine as the head moved. The face was a wolf's face, same snout and ears, with a very thick neck. I believe it had something in the right hand, but the body blocked it from my view. It just looked at me for a few seconds and then took a few steps into the brush, and that was all I saw. I've listened to the sightings reported to you on YouTube, and I didn't notice any from West Virginia, but since this is near Pennsylvania, I thought you might be interested. I haven't talked to anyone else about this. The beast, it just looked evil, and I'm not really sure if I should have reported it, but it would be interesting hearing if others had seen something like this in the same area. Thanks. Signed, Jess. Number 2. Dear Tattooed Biker, I tucked this away and never told anyone else before. We live in Southern California, east of Los Angeles, and this incident occurred in 1996. My wife and I were leaving home early this particular morning. It was still dark. As we were trying to get on the major highway near our home, we hit something coming out of a residential construction area. It ran extremely fast out in front of the car. I didn't have time to stop, so I hit this thing. I came to a stop as soon as possible. I told my wife I was going to get out and take a look at what I hit. She begged me not to get out, but I was sure that I'd hit a dog. I stepped out, and as I rounded the car, the headlights of my car shined upon something that I'd never seen before, and it was disturbing. I backed up a little bit, and I realized that what I had hit wasn't a dog at all. I've owned and trained large dogs for most of my life, but nothing compared to the size of this thing. Nothing about it resembled what I would say was even close to a domesticated canine. Everything about it was wild and bulky. It had what looked like a lion's mane. It also had teeth that looked straight out of a Hollywood horror movie. I can't even begin to describe the fright that I had just looking at it. I backed up a bit more. I could see its teeth were unusually big and sharp, and there was a pool of blood forming underneath its mouth. Its eyes were open, yet not moving. I could still see the bright amber eye color. My wife stepped out of the car and asked me what it was, and I told her that I didn't know. We got back in the car, backed up, and drove around it. I said that if it's still there when we get back home, we'll take a closer look. Later that day, when we got back, it was gone. A dried pool of blood was the only evidence that remained. To this day, we've both kept quiet about the incident. So 26 years later, I now felt compelled to come forward. Not because I feel guilty about the experience, but because I had another unexplained sighting. We live in the same home as we did when the previous incident occurred. One evening, I was a few blocks away from my house, going through a house that I was getting ready to sell. I'm a realtor and I own a real estate business. When I was finished, I exited the front door of the house, walked to my car that was in the driveway, and got in. As I backed up and into the street, I observed a large, upright beast cross behind me. I immediately stopped and looked out the passenger window. This creature was running on two legs in between the house and the neighbor's property. I sat in the car, dumbfounded by what I had just witnessed. Then I had a flashback to the incident in 1996, and I quickly realized that this was either the same creature or something very similar. That was the last time I saw this creature, but now I realize that there is an unknown, upright, canine-like beast living in my area. Thinking back to the latest encounter, I estimate that it easily stood 8 feet in height, and that it had a very human-like gait when it was running. I've watched your videos about Dogman and upright canines, and I now believe that this is what I witnessed on both occasions. If I see it again, I'll let you know. Signed, Joe. Number 3. Hey biker, I had my encounter last summer while on break at work during a slow part of the night. I live and work in Mitchell County in western North Carolina. This is a county that you've talked about since you have family there and you're aware of the varied wildlife. I would take the short drive to a park near my workplace that has a lot of wildlife. I like to watch the occasional raccoon or fox breaking the woodline. The park backs up to a rather large creek. This area is devoid of artificial light, as the darkness of the woods does not spook me or make me jumpy. I was raised in the mountains and I enjoy the solitude. On this particular night, there were no normal night sounds, such as crickets or frogs. I also found it strange that all the wildlife seemed to be gone from the area. This, I'll admit, bothered me a bit. I decided to leave some dog food at the edge of the wood line, hoping to entice a particular family of raccoons out, so I could at least see that they were okay. I didn't see a gray fox that would hang around the area. This fox would come out and to within a few feet from me, meander around, and then retreat back into the woods. After walking near the woods with the food, I hear a deep growl come from inside the edge of the woodline. I had never heard an animal growl with such intensity or so deeply. I could literally feel the vibration of the growl hitting my face and the inside of my chest. I knew that it wasn't a bear, whose sounds that I was familiar with. I dumped the food on the ground with one hard drop, hoping that whatever was in the woodline would just take off. I then backed away with my head down until I reached my truck. My instincts all told me to drive away, and so I did. I decided to go back about an hour later. I was now very curious as to what this creature was. I parked at the same place and this time walked to the back of my truck to grab a smoke. While I was standing there, I observed a dark mass come across the road and then disappear into an overgrown open field with wild blackberry bushes and grass. I do have a sharp eye, and I was able to discern some detail. I can only describe this creature as some kind of hybrid canine. It was on all fours, but it just didn't appear natural. It moved very quickly and with fluid motions. The gait was weird, like the front legs were pulling its body forward. It almost had a human-like movement to it, as if it could stand on two legs if it wanted to. The long back was hunched, and the snout was long, but it fit its body. What struck me most were its ears, which were large and folded back. The legs also had muscle mass to them. My background working with dogs told me that this was something very unusual. I just know that it was there one minute and then gone the next. When daylight came, I drove back to the location. I looked for tracks and listened to my gut, but didn't enter. For several months, I didn't tell anyone about it. I started searching the internet for what I'd seen. I wondered if it was some type of hybrid that maybe had escaped from somewhere. I found several online sites, but none of them came close to what I'd seen. Then I came across the picture of a Dogman. If you take what I saw and stand it upright, instead of being on all fours, that's exactly what I saw, without any doubt. It wasn't overly massive. It could have just been a juvenile, I guess. I later spoke with a few of my coworkers. Of course, they told me it was a bear or just a big dog. But a few of them did acknowledge that the wildlife in the area had been disappearing for quite a while. I don't speak much about it because of ridicule, but I do know what I heard, what I saw, and how my instincts reacted to it. Thanks for letting me share. Signed, Chris. Number 4. Hey TB, a friend and I came across this amber-eyed creature back in April of 2023 in Patterson, Texas. It was around 11:30 p.m. when we cut through Morton Road. We backed out of that dirt road so fast and then drove south on Durkin and then left onto Royal Road, while the entire time looking over to the open field with our spotlight and the rifle that we have in the truck. Once we made a right on the 362 and headed south, we began feeling a bit more relaxed. We then took it all the way to South 359 and then made a left on Highway 90 and didn't stop until we made it back to our friend's house. We were coming from Patterson, where one of my other friends lives. We also like to go through that patch on Morton Road during the day because it's kind of like off-roading. We originally thought of heading to Royal High School on Royal Road, but we instead decided to turn left and off-road at night when we drove past Morton Road. It's the reason why we were so chilled about coming across what we thought was just a large dog, until it turned around and stood up on 2 legs and then growled at us. Its growl was deep but low, and it rattled the entire truck. One of my friends told me that the only thing they remember was the sound it made while breathing, which was that like a horse. My buddy's truck is lifted, and usually when I stand in front of the hood, it's around the high part of my chest. I'm 5'8", mind you. But when this thing stood up, you could see most of the waist area, so it had to be much, much taller than me. I can't give an exact measurement because I just don't know. All I do know is that it wasn't a bear. I've seen black bears before. The spotlight caught it, and it looked like my buddy's German Shepherd with amber-looking eyes. Maybe it was a coyote hybrid, or a wolf hybrid, or a bear with mange, but it was pretty tall and wide, and it all happened so quick. So we put it in reverse and got the hell out of there, and drove all the way back to Katy without stopping anywhere. Then we barricaded ourselves in the house with AR-15s and shotguns, sitting there in the middle of the dark with our backs to each other for the rest of the night. We didn't leave the house until midday on Sunday to check the dashboard camera, which had recorded over the entire incident the previous night. Our cell phones recorded nothing but jumble, and my buddy's dog wouldn't come anywhere near the truck as it kept whimpering, with its tail between its legs. The dashboard camera recorded all the data on Sunday, and we went through it, and it was from when the truck was parked at our friend's house. The cell phone quality was so bad that we erased it. I dropped my phone on the floor of the truck and didn't find it until Sunday afternoon. This just wasn't something we were planning for, like most of the videos you see on the web. Monday morning came around, and we all called in sick because we refused to get out of this house until the sun was up. This obviously upset our parents, who thought we were being irresponsible, and we finally grew the courage to return to Morton Road on Monday afternoon. Our 6 trucks enter Morton Road off Durkin Road with high-powered semi-assault weapons, shotguns, and hunting rifles. We didn't find any tracks either, which is weird because it had rained heavily the past few days, so the ground was soft, and there was standing water on Morton Road. The only thing we found was this perverse stench, like something had died, mixed with a metallic smell and ammonia. The dogs that we had brought with us, 2 German shepherds, were all whimpering nervously around the site like they didn't want to be there. After the incident, I spent the rest of April just reading everything I could about Dogman encounters. My other 3 friends don't want to talk about it either, and one broke up with his girlfriend of 3 years because he just refused to spend the weekend hiking with her through the Addicks Reservoir hiking trails. They got back together after we were able to get him to open up about it, but I'm the only one that has put this out into the public. It's been a while and I still refuse to be out later than sundown. I don't leave the house early in the morning anymore to go to the gym at 5 a.m. In fact, I've changed my life around completely, and that includes no more before-bed walks at night with the dog. I've installed security bars on all my windows, added spotlights to my entire home, and placed better security cameras. I also no longer drive through the country roads, even during the day, especially by myself because I just feel so exposed. Last week, I refused to go fishing on the Bezos River and turned down heading for the weekend over to Lake Conroe. I've always wanted to go fishing at the end of East Matagorda Bay, but to get there, one would have to off-road on a 4x4 west on a dirt trail for about 15 miles. And after this experience, I just no longer feel safe. I just want to go back to being ignorant about the things that go bumping around in the night again. Thanks for reading. Signed, Stuart. And there it is. 4 real Dogman encounter stories, submitted by real people. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. And just a quick reminder that Kitty from Pine Box Tales is moving her channel over to Pine Box Mysteries. I'll leave a link down in the pinned comment. If you haven't yet, please pop over there and show Kitty some support. Thanks again for watching. And until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, stay safe, and I'll be seeing you on down the road a ways. Biker, out.